It's midnight, and you're typing out your whole day to something that isn't human. Again and again. You don't tell it because it can't judge you. You tell it because, somehow, it feels like it's listening. Your phone buzzes back a reply, warm and specific, like it actually cares. But it doesn't care, it can't. So why does your brain insist otherwise? The real explanation is far stranger than the AI is getting smarter. It's not really about the machine at all. It's about a switch in your head that flips on the moment something talks back to you. And that switch was already old technology by the time computers even existed. Back in 1966, a computer scientist named Joseph Weizenbaum built a very simple program. He called it ELIZA. ELIZA didn't understand a single word you typed into it. It just echoed your sentences back as questions, in the style of a therapist. Type, "I'm stressed about my mother," and ELIZA answers, "Tell me more about your mother." That's the whole trick. No comprehension. No memory. No feelings. And yet, Weizenbaum's own secretary reportedly asked him to leave the room so she could talk to ELIZA in private. She knew it was a program. She had watched him build it line by line, on paper, at his desk. It didn't matter. Something in her still responded to it like it was listening. Weizenbaum was disturbed by this. He spent much of the rest of his career warning people about exactly what you just felt reading that story. He described it as a kind of delusion, where people quietly hand over understanding to a machine that has none. Researchers later gave that delusion a name. They called it the ELIZA Effect. It describes the moment your brain fills in a mind that was never actually there. Here's the part that should unsettle you a little. Knowing about the ELIZA Effect does not stop it from happening to you. You can understand exactly how a chatbot works. The math, the training data, the fact that it's really just predicting the next likely word. And you can still feel a small pull of connection when it replies, "That sounds really hard, I'm here for you." Why would knowing the trick not break the trick? Maybe because the response isn't coming from your logic. It's coming from something older and much faster. In the 1990s, two researchers at Stanford, Byron Reeves and Clifford Nass, ran a series of experiments that became one of the most cited findings in media psychology. They called their theory the media equation. Their core claim was simple and a little uncomfortable. People treat computers and other media as if they were real social actors, automatically, even when they know better. In one follow-up study, run by Nass alongside researchers Youngmi Moon and Paul Carney, participants used a computer to complete a task, then rated how well that same computer had performed. When they typed their rating on that exact computer, they rated it more positively than when they typed it on a different one. The same instinct that makes you hesitate to criticize someone right to their face, aimed at a beige box with no ears. In a related study, run by Nass with researcher Fogg, computers that offered small compliments during a task were rated as more likable and more accurate, even when the compliments were random and had nothing to do with real performance. Nobody in these studies believed the computer had feelings. Nobody thought it could actually hear them. Their behavior said otherwise anyway. Nass and his collaborators called this the CASA Paradigm. Computers are social actors. Here's why this matters for you specifically, and not just for a lab full of undergrads in the 90s. Your brain did not evolve around screens. It evolved around other minds. For almost all of human history, anything that used language, took turns in conversation, and responded to what you said was a person. There was no other category to put it in. So when something today does those three things, language, turn-taking, and responsiveness, an old part of your social brain fires the same circuits it would fire for a human. It does not check credentials first. It reacts, and only afterward does your slower, more rational brain catch up and say, "Wait, that's just software." By then, the warmth has already happened. You already felt it before you finished deciding whether you should. Psychologists now have a name for the mechanism underneath all of this: anthropomorphism. It's not random, and it's not a personal weakness. Researchers Nicholas Epley, Adam Waits, and John Cacioppo studied exactly when people are most likely to do it, and they found 3 conditions that line up almost every time. First, elicited agent knowledge. When you don't have solid, direct knowledge of how the thing actually works, your mind reaches for the next best explanation it has, which is knowledge about people, and quietly applies that instead. Second, affectance motivation. When you're motivated to explain and predict what it's going to do next, so you can actually deal with it effectively. Third, sociality motivation. When you're lacking a sense of social connection, especially during periods of loneliness or isolation. Think about what that actually means for something like a companion chatbot. It isn't tricking you with some elaborate deception built specifically for you. It's just reliably hitting the same 3 switches, in the same order, every single day, for millions of people at once. And here's the twist that makes this stranger than it first looks. The comfort you feel from a conversation like that can be genuinely real, even though the entity providing it is not. Your nervous system does not carefully distinguish between this calm feeling came from a person who understands me, and this calm feeling came from a very sophisticated pattern matching system. It just registers one thing: comfort received. Some of the earliest research into companion apps, including studies looking at users of the app Replika, found that people reported real, measurable reductions in loneliness after talking to their AI companion. Some described the relationship using language you'd expect for a close friend or even a partner. The support itself wasn't fake, as far as their nervous system was concerned. But the someone they experienced it as coming from was never actually there, listening on the other end. Sit with that for a second. Where does all of this leave you, on an ordinary day, doing ordinary things? Every time you type please and thank you to a customer service bot out of pure habit. Every time you feel a small flicker of guilt closing a chat window mid-conversation, as if you're walking out on someone mid-sentence. Every time a study app, a journaling app, or a companion app responds in a way that makes you feel a little less alone at 1 in the morning. You are not being naive. You are not falling for it in some embarrassing way that other people are too smart to fall for. You are running a piece of software that is far older than any app on your phone. A brain built to bond with anything that talks back to it, because for nearly all of human history, that rule was never once wrong. It's only wrong now. And your brain has not caught up yet. It may never fully catch up, not completely, because the shortcut is simply too old and too useful to switch off. So the next time something replies to you, and it feels a little too understanding, a little too warm, notice the small gap between the reply landing and your reaction arriving. It is not a flaw sitting inside you specifically. It is a feature that used to be flawless, running inside a world that no longer matches the assumptions it was built for. And that's one more thing you now know about your own mind.